Hello, happy Tuesday. I am wearing my Hope t-shirt. I just got it. It's like my uniform for, I think I'm gonna wear this every Tuesday because most Tuesdays I do podcast interviewing, and I thought I would just share a little bit about the Hope Unlocked story with you guys if you want to hear it. And I really want to first of all point you to listen to the podcast episode that I just released today. It's episode 74. It's, again, my podcast is called Hope Unlocked, which is the title of this Facebook Live. And I really wanted to just point you to that because a lot of things that I post on the socials get suppressed. So we're just kind of pushing things through in other ways. So if you happen to be hearing this, go check out the episode with my sweet friend, Dr. Michelle Bankson. She shares she just shares amazing hope-filled perspectives, which is actually her podcast. But she just released a new book today. So it's her book birthday today. And the name of her book is Sacred Scars. I'm just reading the rest of it so I don't mess it up. Resting in God's promise that your past is not wasted. So I actually ordered a couple books, one for myself and one for somebody in my life who I won't mention. But I just wanted to come on and just share a little bit about the journey to Hope Unlocked and a little bit of the journey to, I would say, becoming a hope igniter. So a lot of you maybe grew up with really challenging childhoods, maybe challenging teenhoods, maybe challenging young adulthoods. That was a lot of my story, just a lot of challenges, and it's 4:14 here for such a time as this. So I actually grew up, I would actually say pretty hopeless. Honestly, I had a lot of things going on in my life that just seemed hopeless, and I won't get into all the story there. A big part of my life was moving a lot in a 4-year period of time. We left California when I was 10. We went from California to Vermont, to California to Vermont, to California to Illinois to Virginia, and then I went back to Illinois by myself in 8th grade. Then I went back to Virginia and then to Minnesota. So it was a lot of moving in the very crucial years between 10 and 14. So my life it just felt really hopeless. And looking back at those times of my life, and then finally moving here to Minnesota when I was a freshman in high school, it was a lot to bear. It was a lot to bear. And I did not grow up in church, so I didn't have the Lord in my life. I was kind of walking aimlessly through life and ended up getting into alcohol and drugs and just really didn't care about life at all, to be honest with you. I ended up just living a very Russian roulette kind of life, and I look back and I say, like, I literally should not be sitting here talking to you right now. There's so many situations that I literally just shouldn't even be here because I was so down such a dark pathway, and life just literally felt hopeless. I didn't have any direction. I was just doing the things to barely get by. And to make this really long story a little bit shorter, because I tend to share stories and it takes me a while, so I'm going to try to make this short. The Lord rescued me when I was 25, a year after I got married. My husband and I have been together since we were 18, since we were end of senior year in high school, and I literally, like I said, I should not be sitting here talking to you, but I am, and He rescued me. He rescued me when I was 25. I had a very quick deliverance I had no more desire for alcohol, drugs. I quit smoking right away. I mean, it was just like straight up miracle, right? And anyways, I started learning that there's hope. There's actually joy to be had. There's peace. That was probably the hardest, longest, I guess, fruit of the Spirit that took hold of me, because life just didn't feel peaceful. Like I said, many years of being hopeless, very lost, but my hope started stirring up, especially after I had 2 miracle boys. Doctors told me I couldn't have babies, and I had 2 miracle boys who are 19 this week and 16 next month, which is crazy. But I had 2 miscarriages right after I got saved. So I was just like, what is this now? So I've had a lot of trials and a lot of tribulations and a lot of trauma throughout my life, and I think because of the massive amount of those things that I've walked through, and I know everybody has their stories, and much of what I've walked through maybe isn't as maybe horrible as you walk through. I'm not trying to compare here. We all have our stories, but because of that, I've just always been like an empath, and I've really felt other people's, like, what they're feeling, and I've always wanted to just stir up hope in others. Even when I was like hopeless growing up, I wanted to be a good friend to others. I wanted to be, I've always been one who was like kind of the counselor. People would come to me with their things, and I was like a safe place because I just never wanted to hurt people, because in the way that I was hurt. So, all that to say, part of my journey, was like my voice felt really locked up, and I really didn't feel like I could speak well. I felt like I just had like a speech impediment almost. There was this lie that I had a speech problem, that I couldn't speak well, that, I said all the time. There was all these little things that came for me. So say it now, which, whatever, you guys. So if is like holding you back from speaking, I just want to release you today to just go say as much as you want. Okay. So there was this, moment back in 2017, and part of why I'm sharing this today is because it kind of goes along with my post I did earlier today. I went through Christian Coach Institute to become a coach, and I was just floored, because I was like, this is what I was created to do. This is literally what I was created to do. But it took a little while to get like in alignment with like truly how I was to operate as a coach, because it is different. So I ended up starting to coach women, but I was also still working full time. Ended up being freed and released from the corporate side of healthcare. I like to say I retired early because I was tired. I was tired of working in the system. I couldn't even take money from the system anymore. I knew that I needed to break free, because I literally have always been kind of a wild one who doesn't fit in the lines. And honestly, you guys, nobody is supposed to. Let me just tell you that. I'm just going to tell you that. But I am like a free bird. I need to have space to free roam, to be cage free, to be like a chicken that is out of the coop. Although I'm not a chicken, I'm an eagle. Let's just put it that way. So one of my biggest things was the voice. My voice I felt like there was a chokehold on my voice. I felt like Moses. Now I'm going to tell you that is actually a stronghold that had to be broken. That is kind of a generational thing, right? So when the Lord was showing me in 2020 to start a podcast, I actually laughed. I thought it was funny, because I was just like, I think you got the wrong one. There's no way that I will ever do that. And I just kind of put it on the shelf. Now, it started coming back around the bend again. And I'll just speed it up. So last year, 2023, I just kept hearing my spirit that it was going to be the year of the stretch with my voice, because part of what I'm called to do in my coaching is to help unlock and release women's voices. I was kind of like the stagehand, right? So if there was a woman that was called to be a speaker, I was in the background, behind the stage, calling her up, helping her get herself up to the microphone. So he did a little switcheroo with me last year and was like, not only are you going to be helping women to come out and do their speaking, but you're also going to be doing that as well. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So he gave me the name of the podcast, Hope Unlocked, and it resonated. And not only was that part of it, but the verse that is the anchoring verse for Hope Unlocked is Romans. He showed me that it's not a podcast, for me personally, that it's not a podcast. I'm always hearing different words, seeing different words, flipping the script. I heard in my spirit that it's a seed cast. How cool is that? A pod is like, it's in a pod. It's kind of stuck in there. A seed goes out and it multiplies. So that's when he showed me the name of the podcast, Hope Unlocked, the verse, Romans 15:13, and that my podcast was not going to be a podcast. It was going to be a seed cast. I said yes, because I knew that when we are called to do something, we can either put it on the shelf and say no, which I don't believe we're called to do. Somebody hearing me. But we're also called to do things differently. I actually, the biggest potential hang up for me was oh my gosh, I don't know how to do the tech for a podcast. So what I did was what some people would do is you go do a little research, and I Googled how to do a podcast. And I ended up finding a girl who had a free PDF, how to get your podcast launched. And it was just so complicated. And it was this whole launch plan. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, Lord, this is too much. And he said, yours is going to be different. You don't need that. And as far as the tech goes, I said, okay, Lord, I've got a computer. Show me what's in my hands and how I can get this thing up and running. And within 5 minutes, I was shown very supernaturally how to get this podcast up and going. So I just wanted to share that story today and also share my new shirt. This was actually created from a company called Dear Heart out of Texas. And I can't remember, I think her name is Nicole. I'm pretty sure her name is Nicole. But she has an amazing story, entrepreneurial story journey. I'm hoping to have her on the podcast sometime soon, because that's who I'm highlighting right now, is women who are pioneering. They're pioneering different. They're not willing to get in the stream with where everybody's going. They're kind of the salmon that's swimming upstream and doing the hard things, because that's what we're kind of called to, right? It's definitely not an easy journey. So I just wanted to come on here, kind of share a little bit more of my background of going from hopeless to being a hope igniter, because God can use anything. He can use the hardest parts of our stories to encourage others. And like I said, I shouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. Literally, if you saw me back in the day when I was living the wild life, I'm living the wild life in a different way now. But if you saw me back then, you probably wouldn't have hope for me either. So I want to encourage you today. Go listen to the podcast that I shared. It just launched at 3 o'clock today with Dr. Michelle Bankson. She has a new book called Sacred. I'm going to read the whole thing because I don't want to jack it up. Sacred Scars, Resting in God's Promise That Your Past Is Not Wasted. So if your past is holding you back, I want to encourage you that that's not now. Take today and move on. It's time to move on. It's time to grab onto that thing that the Lord's calling you to do. It's time for you to do it different. It's time for you to stop looking to everybody else's blueprints and ask him, like, what is it, Lord? What am I called to do in this season? Because he was showing me, I think it was yesterday, that I'm a bodybuilder. Not in the sense of like, weightlifting, but I'm a bodybuilder. I'm called to help the body be built up, and you are too. So get out there, go do some resistance training. You're going to need to resist a lot in this season. You're going to need to stay really focused in this season. And if you need somebody to come alongside you, you know where I am. I'm on here, New Wings Coaching. I would be happy to jump on a call with you, see what you're up to. We may not be a good fit, but I might know somebody who can help you in your journey, because we're not called to do this thing alone. I can't even imagine my journey on my own. Oh my gosh. I mean, yes, of course we have the Lord with us, but he didn't call the disciples out by themselves. They went 2 by 2. So would be happy to be one of your 2 by 2ers so that we can get out in 4 by 4 in the wild terrain. So, all right. Well, that's a little bit about my Hope Unlocked story, going from hopeless to hope-filled and abounding in hope. Romans 15:13. So this is a shirt from Dear Heart, that company I told you about. I'll link it in the comments. I will also link my discovery call calendar below if you want to reach out. You don't have to. I just put it out there because it's good stuff. You can go read testimonies. I'm just here doing the work that the Lord's called me to do. And like the question I asked earlier today, are you anointed in the work that you're doing? Are you just doing the work for the money? That was a Holy Spirit coaching Kristen question. Take care. Bye.